In this deeply personal episode, I share my journey of redefining what it means to leave a legacy. For the longest time, I believed my legacy would be carried through having children. My marriage brought the hope of a family, but after experiencing the heartbreak of miscarriages and the toll of fertility treatments, I faced a difficult realization. Perhaps my legacy wouldn't come in the form of a child. For years, I carried the weight of the struggle, questioning my purpose and wondering if my impact would disappear without the direct lineage to carry it forward. I prayed, sought guidance, and found myself asking, if not this, then what? In the stillness, I began to see that God had a different path for me, a path of creating, inspiring, and nurturing others through my work, my words, and my purpose. This season of my life has been a different kind of birthing season. I've come to understand that my legacy lives in what I bring to life through my creativity, my courage, and calling to help others step into their truth. I've been carrying gifts, ideas, and strength that are meant to be born into this world. I realized that God had impregnated me with dreams and purpose, things no one could take away. I fought through the labor pains of self-doubt, of fear, and insecurity. And with every contraction, every setback, I gained the strength to keep pushing, to let my creativity and purpose crown, and finally deliver what was planted within me. This episode is for anyone who has ever questioned their purpose and wondered how they can make an impact beyond what they initially envisioned. Together, let's explore what it means to embrace your own birthing season, to find strength in the struggles, and allow your unique gifts to shine. So as you listen to today's episode, I want you to reflect on these questions. How has untapped talent, creativity, or strength emerged for you out of a difficult season and experience? And what has given you the strength to finally deliver the purpose or vision God has inside of you? So grab your tea, coffee, or cup of cozy, and let's sift through this topic together. It's time to give birth to what's been waiting inside of you. Welcome, 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 and hello. I am your host, Linda, aka Lou, and this is another episode of Say It Forward with Lou. We are a community for healing, growth, creativity, and positivity. So let's dive in and sift through today's topic and chat. Today, I'm going to share with you a story that has taken years to unfold. A story about loss, resilience, and ultimately finding a new kind of legacy. This episode is called Strength to Deliver, My Birthing Season. It's about discovering my purpose and legacy would look like, and that it would be different than what I once imagined, and finding beauty in that transformation and being okay that what I originally envisioned may not be what God had planned for me. So again, if you haven't already, grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab your cup of cozy, and let's sift through this topic today together. Now, when I got married, like many women, I carried the dreams of building a family. I had the picture in my mind, my husband, myself, and the child or children we would bring into the world together. It was a hope that felt natural, one that I assumed would fall into place once we were ready. But in my marriage, we didn't have any living children together. And I didn't even realize fertility would be an issue until it became one. When I was younger, dating and single, I was always responsible about preventing pregnancy. I was never that girl that was going to trap someone or try to hold on to a relationship by having a child. My personality was the complete opposite. I wanted to be able to move on completely if things didn't work out. And I never wanted the added complexity of staying connected to someone for the sake of a child. Call it selfish, but when I'm done, I'm done. And having a child in those younger years would have tied me to someone long after the relationship ended. And I didn't want to play nice or kiki or, all of the things that you have to do for the sake of co-parenting. I had seen how difficult breakups could be, and I wanted the freedom to fully be able to move forward once the relationship was over. So fast forward a few years, and I was finally ready to start a family, and we got married in May. And by November of that year, I was pregnant. And I carried that pregnancy until my second trimester. And I realized something might be wrong. And it was a day where, just like any other morning, I was getting up, my regular morning routine, getting myself ready for work, went into the bathroom, and that moment I saw the bright red stream of blood. And my heart just dropped. And I remember whispering to God, please don't let this be happening. But sometimes our journeys take turns we never expected. And ultimately that pregnancy, which was my longest pregnancy, in my second trimester, ended in miscarriage. And thereafter, months and then years of trying, things didn't happen the way we had planned. I continued to go through the highs of getting pregnant and then the crushing lows of multiple miscarriages. And I felt the physical toll of fertility treatments, the injections, the appointments, the constant monitoring. And each time my hopes would rise, only to come crashing down. And I was exhausted, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And for so long, I questioned myself. I questioned my purpose as a woman. Would my legacy disappear without a child to carry it forward? And I was haunted by those thoughts of not leaving anything meaningful behind. And I wondered, if I can't have children, then who am I? And as the relationship went on and still having the fertility issues continued, and then ultimately the dissension and the demise of the relationship and the marriage, all of those thoughts were compounded by, now I'm by myself. And now thinking I don't even have anything to represent that was beautiful to even say, well, at least I have this beautiful being, child, to show that at one point in time, love did exist in this relationship. But over time, with prayer, lots of it, therapy, and deep reflection, a new kind of realization started to take place. And it began to take root where I began to see that maybe my purpose wasn't just about creating life biologically, but creating something else entirely. God was gently showing me that my legacy could be in the lives that I touch, the words that I write, and the guidance that I can offer. God was planting a different kind of seed within me, a seed of creativity, purpose, and impact. And I was starting to realize that God had impregnated me with dreams and gifts and talents that no one could take away. And just like pregnancy, these ideas, these callings, this that had been growing inside me, waiting to be birthed. And I began to understand that I am in my own birthing season, where I bring forth something beautiful and lasting, even if it isn't a child. The journey of bringing this new purpose of life hasn't been easy. And just like labor, there have been contractions and moments of pain and challenge, doubts, insecurities, fears that I wasn't good enough or even ready enough. But with each contraction, each struggle, it pushed me closer to the surface, closer to seeing my dreams start to take shape. And I remember one day sitting down to write, and suddenly it all started pouring out of me. My words, my ideas, my creativity, they were coming to life. I was crowning and bringing forth something I'd carried inside for so long. And I truly believe God gives us strength to deliver what He's placed inside of us. Even in the toughest times, where He is there guiding us and nurturing the seeds that He's planted. And every time I wanted to give up, every time I thought about, I can't do this, I could feel Him and hear Him saying, not yet. Keep going. And so it started to make me realize that your legacy doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Maybe you won't have a child, or maybe your career won't look like you planned. But God has planted something beautiful in each of us, and we are all impregnated with purpose. We are pregnant with purpose. And so I want you to continue to really think about that and see that, for me, one thing I realized on this journey is that, you know how they say with every loss, there's a win hidden somewhere, an opportunity, a new direction, or a chance to see life from a different angle. I used to hear people say, when something dies, something else is born, right? And I think I'm finally truly understanding what that means. The end, the dissension, the death of my marriage and other relationships felt like a deep personal loss. And like the life I had planned and the dreams I had for a family had vanished. It was as if that the chapter I was supposed to write had got completely erased. But through that, I began to see that there was another story waiting to be told. One that didn't rely on having children or following the conventional route of family and legacy that I once envisioned. My journey shifted from mourning what I didn't have to discovering what was already within me, waiting to be brought to life. And that's where my birthing season truly began. The legacy I'm creating is still a family of sorts. It's a family of ideas, of words, of impact. It's about bringing to life what God has planted in me, what He has nurtured through every heartbreak and every disappointment. And just because the story didn't go the way I had planned doesn't mean that there isn't a story worth telling. In fact, it's shown me a legacy far greater than I could have imagined. I may not be raising children, but I am raising up women. I'm building a legacy of courage, of resilience, and empowerment, guiding others through their process to their own purpose, discovering their own voices. That is my legacy, the life that is being born from within me. And as I reflect on this birthing season, I realize that this creative energy, this purpose, and this calling are just as alive and just as powerful as any family I could have dreamed of. Through the end of a relationship, marriage, and other relationships, I found a deeper relationship with myself and with God. And through the death of what I thought was my path, I was reborn on a path truer to my soul and more aligned with my calling. So as I sit here today, stronger and more resilient than I've ever been, I want to ask you all, how have you experienced rebirth from loss? And what legacy are you birthing through the chapters of your life that didn't go as you expected? So I'll ask those again. How have you experienced rebirth through loss? And what legacy are you birthing through the chapters of your life that you didn't plan or expect? Maybe there's something within you, a dream or a purpose or a strength that's ready to be delivered. Perhaps you're in a season where things have died or doors have closed, dreams have shifted. But I encourage you to look within and ask yourself, what new life can come from this? Because sometimes our most meaningful legacy isn't the one we envisioned. It's the one we discover through the losses and the lessons along the way. As I think back on this season of my birthing season, I realized that one of the greatest gifts in my healing journey has been tapping into my creative energy. It's a strength I didn't fully tap into and discover until, or even appreciate until I was pushed into discovering it, right? It was a creative energy has been a way for me to give birth to something new, even from the ashes of my pain. For me, creativity has taken the form of writing and poetry and storytelling. The art of poetry especially has been a balm to my heart. There's something so powerful about putting feelings into words. And ironically, I've written some of my most beautiful and raw work during my darkest, messiest times. And those words became my way to process my emotions and to face the grief, the loss, the pain of letting go of people I loved. And they helped me to navigate moments that I thought I couldn't get through, especially going through my divorce, which brought out emotions that I didn't even know I had in me. It's kind of like what we say about our favorite artists, like you got your favorite R&B artist or your favorite musician, and how we love their music most when they're going through something real, right? It's like their struggle brings out a level of truth and soul and rawness that connects us on a deeper level, right? And we don't always like to admit that. But we want the artist who's hurting, right? Like the one who's stripped down and real and not just the happy one. Like, girl, I don't know about this album. When you was going through something, that album was a banger, right? Like that's how it is. And so I feel like that's what happened to me. My own birthing season was one of my most vulnerable and raw times, and it led to me creating some of my truest, most powerful work. And this process has taught me that even when I felt broken, there was a part of me that could rise, that could create beauty from ashes, that creativity became my strength, and it was my strength to deliver. It gave me purpose and allowed me to turn my pain into something meaningful and something beautiful. And now as I look back on this season, I'm reflecting on how these experiences has reshaped me and how they've made me think differently about relationships and about the people who hold a place in my heart. And I realize now that creativity has given me a way to hold space for all of it. the memories, the grief, the losses, the lessons. It's taught me that even in the lowest, hardest moments, there is a strength within that can be brought forth to something healing and to something beautiful. And that's the power of a birthing season. And so as we are about to come to a close to today's episode, I want to leave you with a couple questions. How has untapped talent, creativity, or strength manifested for you out of a difficult season? And how have you been given the strength to deliver what God planted inside of you? I want to hear your stories. I love to hear your stories. So let's continue this conversation. You can send me a message, leave a comment, or share your story on my social media page with the hashtag strength to deliver, because I want us to celebrate the legacy we're each bringing into the world. And we're going to continue this conversation on the Live with Lou, where we sip and sift through this week's episode. And in doing that, we're just going to be diving a little bit deeper, discussing key takeaways in a more intimate and real-time setting. So the conversation will definitely continue. So I want you to definitely ponder and reflect on those questions. And as you're doing that, I want you to remember that your birthing season is yours alone. And I want you to take your time and lean into your feelings and any pain that you might have felt and embrace the process. And let your purpose come to life in all of its beauty. So thank you for joining me today on this episode of Say It Forward with Lou. I thank you for tuning in. And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review and share it with someone who may need some inspiration. Follow me on my social media at sayitforward_podcast. And let's keep this conversation going. And until next time, stay tuned, stay a while, and let's continue to say it forward and living fearlessly through faith, strength, and courage. So until next time, we'll chat soon. Take care.